Welcome back to the Anachroschism. When we left off last time, the party was just kind of cooling down from the aftermath of having fought a dragon, more specifically Aurelia, the last person who completed the Conatus, in a seemingly fully draconic form, and then Lena also turned into a much, much smaller version of one, and there were some gifts distributed, and now you guys find yourself in a almost eerily quiet remnants of a temple of sorts with a now opened tomb in the middle and not a whole lot else going on. So, what would you like to do?
It is eerily quiet. We should leave.
Then I'm going to just point to the tomb and say, but before we do, we have some valuable gifts that I think we should distribute amongst ourselves for the journey ahead. So I'm going to go over to the tomb and start looking at everything.
Okay. So as we mentioned last time, but for viewers' sake, it's a circlet of blasting, a mithril chainmail, a cloak of protection, gloves of missile snaring, and a wand of magic missiles, all sitting at the top and sort of like wrapped in a swaddling babe of a bag of holding.
So I guess I'm just going to start pulling the stuff out and kind of showing it to everyone, and then if anyone has like a super strong reaction, I'll hand it to them. So I'm first going to pull out the mithril chainmail.
I think it's be up to you. I don't think. It starts humming. It's for me. I think you're just going to have to distribute it.
I know, but I want people to have a say if they want, but if they don't, I'll start handing it out accordingly.
She wants people to sing for their supper.
Yeah.
Oh, you want this? Do a little dance then.
Look at this. Look at here. Looky.
Fine. Okay. Mithril chainmail. I'm going to give it to Karash.
Oh, hey, that's
For the
weird.
record, we did talk about like who should get what off
Yes.
our viewers.
Also-
But I still wanted people to like, oh, this will be helpful.
She wanted
If
people to
they
roleplay,
wanted-
you fucks.
Yeah, I don't know why we're complaining.
God. But it's fine.
I was role-playing. You wouldn't say anything. God damn it.
I was holding up the thing, and if anybody... Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, I heard what you said.
Okay. Then I guess I'm going to give myself the cloak of protection, as we talked about. I'm going to hold up the gloves, and then... Okay.
What are those?
Gloves of missile snaring.
And how do we know that?
I don't know. I just...
Okay. The label. I got you.
Magic.
You know.
You look in the little tag.
They've already
It
been...
says
the items have already
hand
been
wash
identified, so you can tell. They have labels on them and glowing draconic runes. Yeah.
Hand wash only. Fuck this.
Yeah. That's all we have in this world. So actually, it's probably for the best. No dry cleaning here.
Wait,
That's what you think.
That's
wait,
what
there's
my
a
father's
cantrip that does
working
cleaning.
on.
What are you talking about?
A boat-sized washer and dryer.
Evil.
Could be useful for Tessian or myself, or...
Remember all those times your dad talked about cleansing the world and we thought, oh god, that can't be good. Huh? It turns
gonna
out,
do-
Oh,
He's gonna
it's
disrupt
just...
the clothes washing industry.
yeah. He'll be rich.
Tessia nods and says, I agree. It could be handy.
Okay.
Handy.
Oh!
So I'll hand it
I vomit a little bit.
to a Tessian. And then I pull out the wand of magic missiles.
Huh. Also interesting.
Would you like it? It could be handy.
Well, now I can't remember what we decided on who gets what, but
I think I
I'll
have
take
it in my
a
notes.
here. It's for me.
Yeah.
I'll take a look at it at the very least. But yeah, I'm curious about it. So yeah.
Okay. Then I pull out the circlet of blasting, and since Isaac is the last person, I'm gonna hold it out to you.
No, I'm okay. But I said no, like the scene in Batman Begins when he's told to kill the prisoner and he just leans in and he's like, no. That's
I'm gonna give Isaac like kind of a side eye and just kind of like nudge like my head kind of sideways like, Isaac, this is awesome. Why would you reject something like this?
I just don't like the circumstances, that's all.
And I shrug and I say, I mean, I'm the one who nearly died here, and I'm taking this wand. I suggest you take that circlet too.
For me, it's a matter of principle. The guise of learning a lesson by inflicting pain, I've just never been a fan of.
Well, our whole journey could very well be like this. For all of us, we might have to learn something.
And that's
through
fine.
pain.
And I won't argue that it was effective. And if she wanted us to prove ourselves, it worked. But at the same time, I don't have to reconcile. Grail nearly died. To me, that speaks for itself.
But I would argue that these tools will keep that from happening, at least a little bit.
I don't. It's a matter of principle for me. I don't want to help. When I was growing up, we used to have shooting lessons, and I would gravitate towards always wanting to use my right hand. My sister decided that I needed to be ambidextrous with shooting, and she broke my right arm so that I would be forced to use the left. Did it work? Sure, yes, it did, but I can't help but think if the same lesson could have been applied in a way that didn't leave such scars.
Your sister sounds very wise.
Yes, it's an interesting story. And then Tessian comes and grabs the circlet and then just puts it like into Isaac's chest.
Oh.
And it's just like, Lena's first task on the journey you agreed to be on was to hand these out. You will take this. And whether you like it or not, you will accept this gift.
Damn.
I don't want it, and I won't take it.
And Tessian's like, you see, I'm sure you can understand my confusion. This is a symbol of you being here with us. I know you understand symbols, Isaac. You have a mask from your uncle, the guns made by your father, your entire personality changes so that you can... Look, you understand what I'm saying here.
It's funny you mentioned symbols. We're not really interested in being symbols anymore. It's I've been noticing more and more. Invoking the idea of the symbol was not the best tactic here because I have pretty much given up this idea, this notion, and I've been fighting against it this whole time. I've been wanting to be a symbol, and it just hasn't been working. I think I'm ready to abandon the idea and just be who I was meant to be this whole time.
Well, who you're meant to be is someone with this circlet because you're here with us.
I'm not taking the circlet.
I want to know what Thea's doing.
As you mentioned this, you watch as you can kind of catch at a glimpse of your eye, especially because you're relatively perceptive, that Thea has been walking towards Tessian at this point, and as he's in the middle of this argument with Isaac, she slaps him on the back of the head. Not hard, but enough to get his attention.
And Tessie just sort of turns around and gives her a, like, what?
Subtract 15 HP.
Yeah. You are unconscious. It's a really hard slap.
Yeah.
She says, I'm not sure if you're one to be lecturing people right now. What were you thinking in that fight?
And Tessian just sort of leans a bit to her, and he's like, can we do this later? This is important.
No, I think we should do this now if you're going to be putting yourself at risk.
And Tessian's like, look, what do you want me to say?
I'd like you to tell me you're not going to do anything like that again, but I'm not foolish enough to think that's true.
Tessian's like, well, I love you because you're smart, you know, but you're right, I'm going to do it again, but I don't know what to do otherwise.
She kind of like turns to the rest of the group at this point, and she goes, that's a type of magic that he really shouldn't be attempting. His family has a bit of a history with it, so just so you know, if he's trying to zap himself to death in the future and I'm not around to slap him upside the head, if you would do me a favor and just call him out on it, that would be fantastic.
What if he's zapping other people to death slowly and in a torturous way?
Well, I would assume he's not doing it without reason, but, if he gets out of line, you're free to stop him then, too.
And Tessian's just like, it's just...
Wow, just getting wrung out to dry.
And he's like, listen, my own shortcomings should not affect what's going on here. Isaac, This is important. We're here to take part of something that is ancient, that predates Lena, that may predate half of her people, and they're quite long-lived. You heard what Aurelia said. The Conatus is here so that we can restore balance. Balance that you may very well have personal ties to the unbalancing of. Your father may be part of the reason that this Conatus exists.
Look, Lena, I'm here to support you. I assisted you in the fight. I think I played a pivotal role in our victory. I hope you agree. I'm here to support you. I want to be here. With that said, the idea of powerful people teaching lessons however they see fit when it inflicts pain on those around them and below them, that's what we're trying to change on a massive scale. To me, this was an example of that. I took it personally, and I don't want your bauble. I hope that you can accept that.
And I think for a moment. And I just say, if you're going to be stubborn now, I don't know. The whole journey could be like this. Is this how it's going to be every single time? We're going to fight and quarrel and hardly function as a team? You don't even have to use the circlet. You can just... And I'm just going to walk over and just take it and say, if you really don't want this, and if you're going to be... and I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated, so I'm trying to like calm myself a little bit from saying anything too harsh, but this can help us become stronger and prevent horrible accidents and help you change the unbalancing in the world, just like Aurelia said.
One of you should use it.
We all have items. We can't... and then I just sigh, and then I go over and take the bag of holding, and then I put it in the bag of holding. And then I'm going to, I guess, I don't know, tie that bag of holding around my waist or something, and then just say, well, if you change your mind, it's still here. Because I want you to be a part of the team, and I want us all to get along and work together.
Acknowledged. So what is the next step? Are we done here? I mean, mission success?
And I nod and I say, yes, I believe so.
What does the bag look like? How big is the bag?
How big is the bag?
Great question. Extremely out of nowhere.
Sorry. She said she tied it on her waist, and I was thinking, I just want the image. That's
2
all.
feet in diameter, 4 feet deep.
And does it look just like a burlap sack, or is it like adorned in any special way?
This one in particular does not have anything fancy to it,
Okay.
no.
All right.
That's adorable.
Holds up to 500 pounds, by the way.
Sweet.
Lana has a very thin waist.
I know. I just imagine just like, essentially, it looks like a skirt in my head. Like a half skirt that you're like...
And there's always certain levels of RPG and D&D inventory where, you know, like, where does Link keep all of this shit?
Oh,
Well, who cares, really? He has it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's like the world's biggest fanny pack.
Yes.
I like the pictures where they've actually, like, decked out Link with all of his shit, and it's just like the items have all, like, been strapped to him, and it's just full body items.
So good.
So?
Yeah, I guess I'll start heading to where we came in. I guess I'll look around real quick and see if there's like another exit that has presented itself.
There is not. Nothing about the room seems to have changed other than the fact that it no longer has Aurelia's presence in it, but there have not been any mysterious portals that have opened or doors that you didn't see prior. The far side of the room just continues to be that same, like, closed-off area, so you basically only really have the path behind you.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start going back the way we came. Yep, walking with purpose. That is what I'm doing.
Okay. Everybody else going with? Nobody's sticking around for some weird reason? Or?
I go to help up Grail. Unless, Grail, are you up now? You were sitting on like a rock recovering. Are you? You were
Yeah,
healed,
I'm
so-
up now. I got up.
Okay.
And I'm kind of like, not like attuning the wand or anything, but I'm definitely like looking at it and getting a good kind of scope of it.
How are you feeling? That's me, the character.
Yeah. Oh, I'm great, Sean. Thanks for asking. I'm really glad that you asked right now. I kind of look away from the wand for a second, and I offer kind of a tired smile, and I say, "That was scary, I must say. It's in a way, it's kind of nice to know how brittle and fragile we are as humans. But I'd rather not happen again, to be completely honest with you. It was pretty much one fell swoop, and I was down. It reminds me just how powerful some creatures and people are out there. I got to be more aware of that."
Well, keep your chin up. You did well. This wasn't some run-of-the-mill bandit. This was overwhelming power directed right at us, and we fared well.
We did, and I kind of I'm starting to walk over and pick up my bow that I flung on the ground. Yeah, I need to pick that up. And I kind of like offer a more like genuine smile and say, "Didn't think I had it in me, huh? Shoot one of these guys."
You're a natural. I was surprised.
Not a natural. My brothers taught me how to shoot from a very young age, but I don't use it too often, I must say.
Well, I think you did great. And then I kind of joking, I kind of get serious. I'm like, I'm really glad you're okay. It was scary for you, I'm sure. It was also scary for me.
And I nod and I say, "Well, thank you. It's good to know that you care, and I know you do, but it's nice to hear it." And I also offer like another like reassuring like kind of like nod at him.
I don't mean to be difficult, but it seems like no matter where we turn, I do, yes.
Yes, you do.
Like no matter where we turn, there's abusive power posing as benevolence, and I'm just sick of it.
I understand.
Also, what I'm sick of is fucking Mike, for the record. But
He
continue.
makes so many faces. I'll nod and I say, I know with your history, I get it. It makes sense. It's a principle of the matter. But for me, I'm an opportunist. If someone hands me something and I think it's going to be valuable, I take it, and no matter what, really.
Don't hold it against you. It's the smart play. More power, more weaponry. And I'm saying a little quiet because I don't really need anyone else to hear that I'm like, these are great. But, yeah.
And I actually appreciate that you brought that up. And so I put my hand like kind of on your arm, and I'm like, it's going to be all right. I'm okay. And lesson learned, right?
Maybe we're in the process.
Yeah. I kind of like, I pick up my bow. I kind of like set it back in my whatever pack. Who knows what I have going on back there. And kind of like slowly start walking toward the group is.
Kind of like thumb the mask. That's like in my like pocket. It's kind of like
symbol.
And then I rejoin the group.
Tessian kind of tries to pull, not like pull Thea aside, but just try to catch a moment with her before we all start, like, everyone leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, look, you're right, and I should have, and he kind of looks at the group, and he's like, can we talk about this later?
She kind of gives you a nod. She says, look, it's not my place to scold you, my love. It's just we've talked about this, and I know you're doing it to protect yourself and even Lena. I understand, but if you go down for some reason, you'll be of no use to her or yourself or anyone else. I saw the look in your eyes when you went to attempt it. That was not a look of reasoned chance. That was a look of fear.
And he nods, and he's like, no, you're right. You know my history with dragons. I'm not... You're right. I need to talk with Lena about this. And then he kind of looks at her and gives her a very serious look. He's just like, I could really use your help with this. I'm not as good with crafting spells and just this sort of spellcraft is beyond my knowledge. I could use some advice when we get a chance.
Well, if we get a quiet moment to ourselves, that seems reasonable. It's not exactly my expertise, but as you know, I do have a bit more experience with it than you.
And he nods. He's like, I know. I don't even know where to start with this. Anyway, we shouldn't get left behind here. They're gonna need me to get out of here.
And she kind of nods and falls in lockstep with you as you guys start to head outside the chamber. Presumably, if nobody else has anything else for this moment, you guys start heading back, and as you make your way down the now even more boring corridor on the way back, you make your way back to where there was a well in the center of the next room. There's no water in it. Well's still there.
It's still super deep.
It's still 60 feet down, so you're going to need to kind of utilize your ropes and stuff or whatever you want to use. However you guys want to traverse it. It's not like it's a difficult task, so we'll, hand wave it away, but you have to climb down into the well, traverse the underside of it with still no water in it, and then climb back up the other side. But water's gone, and at no point when you're in it, or even when Lena's in it, does it change from that. It's just a regular old empty well at this point.
I much prefer this well.
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Would walk again. And you find the same is true when you make it to the one that had the rushing water. You can see where it was. It's not like there was like some kind of like magical effect where it was an illusion the whole time. You can see like the way the water coursed through and the marks in the ground from the force of it, but there's no water there either. You simply walk across the room and there's no issue. And as you make your way back to the main chamber still looks the same as when you first found it. There are still the 8 paths. There's still the sign of the Conatus. There's still the stone slab in the middle with the puzzle and all that jazz. That room appears to be unaltered, unlike the other two. That's kind of a little bit weird, but there's nothing that really stops you from going back, pretty much back to where you first started, which is where there's a place to activate this illusion of sort, this barrier that lets you through in the first place.
Lena, do we know where the next trial is?
I don't know yet. I think I'm supposed to get visions and... Well, the only thing I can tell you for sure is that it's to the east, or west. But that's how maps work. To the west. That all the other trials from here on out are going to be on the western side of the continent. That's all I know for sure. I'll need to spend time meditating and hopefully get some visions of where we need to go next. I'll let you know as soon as I see anything.
So where should we... So you'll let us know where the next trial is, but where should we go next? We're done here. We could travel to the west. It would probably behoove us to rest.
Of course.
And we have some unfinished business to the east. Looks like we have to make another decision. But we should probably gather the group for this.
Right.
So a couple minutes pass, and eventually the whole group kind of gathers together at this barrier where there's the pedestal that Lena activated to let everybody else in originally, and you're all bunched together now.
Do I need to put my hand on the pedestal for it to like open up and let us leave again, or?
It seems that way.
Okay, I'll do the thing.
And it opens up, and you can see basically the part of the Penella Pass that you had been riding through to get here. Some trees, very little foot travel recently. Again, it's all seemingly relatively untouched in any time in recent history, other than you guys coming through originally. And you're also able to collect the cart and horses.
Yep.
I'm not going to be like, you left them inside, they starved to death.
Oh, God.
You'll never see them again. So she'll let you guys kind of head out through this barrier, and you're able to very quickly like deactivate it and dash out yourself. Though you could get back through if you needed to, but it's much simpler this way than having to fight through the barrier.
Yeah.
And you guys find yourself back in the woods of the Penella Pass. That same jello-like barrier behind you now, if you attempt to kind of mess with it, it still springs back and doesn't let anybody in, except Lena. If you really wanted to push through, you could, but everybody else is repelled by it. And I will say this much, too, just for the sake of whatever decision you guys want to make, which direction. Isaac and Grail, you both know a decent amount about the area to the west of here. Not up here specifically, because there was never any reason for you guys to travel up through the pass, because it's not that well traveled anymore. But west of here are at least a couple of places you guys know, including Sheepstop Hollow, which is a couple days travel west. It's a little further than a couple other places, but you know there's also a couple cities in the area that are of decent size, one of which is not too far from the pass. Both of you would know of Willowdale, a smaller, more like woodland village of sorts that's probably maybe half a day or so, maybe a little more from the pass to the west. You would know of Willowdale, which is sort of splitting the difference between... I said Willowdale. You would know of Glencogo, which is splitting the difference between Willowdale and Timberbrook. Isaac, of course, you know Timberbrook very well because it's where you're from. Grail, of course, you know Sheepstop Hollow very well because it's where you're from. So there are some things to the west that are within a day or two's journey. Timberbrook might be more like 2.5, 3. It's the furthest west of the four of those. But all of those are sort of in the nucleus of where you'd be looking to head west from Pinella Pass if you go that direction. Eastern, obviously, you guys have been to most of the stuff in the area. There's a couple as you haven't, but you know a lot of the stuff in that direction.
Okay.
So.
I recommend Willowdale.
Dale? Yeah.
Just because it's the closest and it has an inn and all that. Or I'm assuming if it's a city, it does.
Yep, it'll have an inn in the place. It is a smaller town, probably like the size of Denard and not a Falstock or something that was more large than that, but certainly has more than enough like accommodations to be a good place to head for the night.
Yeah.
Cool.
It'd be nice to go somewhere familiar.
All right, so back in the wagon then, yes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll travel till it's nightfall, till we want to set up camp for the night.
Yeah.
What time is it, I guess, at this point?
At this point, with the time you spent underneath, we're getting to be like mid-afternoon.
So we
And
get a few hours in and then stop for the night, unless we really want to like just cruise on ahead, but we've already been traveling for the day, so.
yeah, if you pushed hard, you might make Willowdale at like midnight or 1 in the morning.
Mm.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We'll camp when it gets dark.
Okay. So you guys head out, and it doesn't take you too long to get back off this beaten path to what is the road that heads through the Pinella Pass. And again, as it was on the way up, you can tell it's like a path that was definitely carved out, but once again, that relative unuse is kind of striking. And unlike some of the times we were traveling on the eastern side of Aramida, now it's like, yeah, you're not seeing any other caravans, you're not seeing any solo travelers, people on horseback, none of that. You have the path to yourself, which is nice in one sense because you don't have to worry about like, who's this person coming? Are they dangerous? And it's also kind of like, it's kind of weird this place has been shut down. But we're talking like decades of limited use. It's easy to tell from just looking at the trail itself. But everybody is going west then, yes? West to Willowdale?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As you guys get back on the main road, everybody make a perception check, please.
Oh, God.
I don't want to.
Isaac, are you
You
sure
don't
it's
have to
not
if you don't
too,
want to.
Not too symbolic to be heading this direction?
Hey, you guys, are you? Did you ask me?
No.
Are you actually asking me that?
No, I'm not.
Are you for real?
For real?
Not for play. Not for play.
Never for play.
Never.
Fine. That's fine.
13
17.
for me.
17.
22.
Thea was a 13. Tessie and Lena, you do see, or you do hear rather, even more of an uptick in what sounds just like animal noises. You heard a little bit of it as you started to approach the incline that was going up into the Pinella Pass, but it seems like the beneficiary of the lack of human contact through this area has meant that as you get kind of further up this mountain range, the creatures in the area, you hear like a variety of birds. You occasionally can catch like a deer that dashes off in the bushes beside you. They have been the ones who have taken over the area because they seem to be enjoying the fact that nobody comes through here anymore. But you also notice that they steer clear of the group. Like as you're hearing these noises, none of them are closer, none of them are approaching. They're all kind of like a little wary of the group, and they don't seem to be all like they're harmless essentially. They're not like, oh, you're in the deer's turf, they're coming now. Everything.
I, for one, am happy about all the animals. I appreciate
Man,
seeing some wildlife.
Tessian's just sort of looking out the caravan. He's trying not to make eye contact with many people. He's thinking about some stuff.
There's also a little bit of the chill to the air as you go up in elevation here. We're not talking like freezing temperatures. Just, if this part of the continent was in the 80s this time of year, you're now looking at like 60s up here. It's a little brisk, especially because it's still daytime and you think it's going to get a little chillier at night. Not so that it's uncomfortable, but just enough you're like, ooh, like fall is here, and it's not fall, but it feels like it now. Thea spends a lot of this time as you guys are traveling, like sort of pestering you, Tessian, about the gloves and like seeing what they are and curious how they work, and she's interested in those.
Well, he'll kind of like he'll take them off and let her like look at them, and then he'll like put them on, and then like we can test them. I don't think there's a limit on them. So if like someone wants to throw something at me,
You stand, and I will fire my gun at you.
Kablam!
I'll put my gun to your temple and fire, and we'll see if the gloves work.
Yeah, like Persona.
yeah,
Ooh,
it's a ranged attack, you know.
Thea,
That's true.
Thea can
we
chuck a
could throw
dagger
a
at you.
stone.
Yeah.
The easier one.
Sure, if she wants to chuck something at me.
All right. Yeah, she goes to pull her dagger, but then she's like, yeah, stone seems smarter. So she kind of hops off the cart. Since it's not moving super fast, she's able to not fall too far behind and picks up a rock. And then she's like, all right, are you ready?
And Tessian's like, I hope so. I think they're going to do most of the work.
So she chucks it at you.
Oh, great.
That's Dex probably. So it's a 14. I don't even know if that hits you.
I believe it would, because I don't have. Well, I have mage armor on, but like I can just let it hit me. I don't care. I'm not gonna get out of the way.
Okay, so it would be doing 2 damage, but that should be more than enough for.
I can't fail it. It's
Okay.
1d10 plus my dex. My dex covers that, so I catch
yeah.
it.
She chucks the rock at you, and then it surprises you because like she throws it pretty hard, and yet you're still able to kind of go like, and after it happens, you're like, yeah, that was helpful. That doesn't seem like a thing I could have necessarily done without it.
Yeah, it's sort of it's like a pole. It's like a weight moving in the direction of it. It's interesting.
I wonder if it works with arrows and the like, or even perhaps Isaac's bullets. It's kind of a fascinating idea, actually. Might help keep you safe.
It's like, well, hopefully. Although I'm not sure I'm interested in testing it against Isaac's bullets.
I don't recommend it either, but you never know. Maybe one of these days it'll have to happen. You guys get on the wrong side of each other, right? And she's trying to be playful about this, but it's kind of awkward when she does. She's kind of nudging you. She doesn't really nudge Isaac or anything, but she's kind of like, huh? And it falls on awkward air.
And Tessian's like, yes, unfortunately, that might happen.
And that is kind of sobering for Thea. She's like, oh. And she kind of quickly changes the subject to, so are you planning to make notes on everything in the scroll?
For what it's worth, I've been playing with my guns the whole time, and when she has the comments about being on the opposite side, and then Tessian is like, yeah, I mean, maybe. I look up and I return my attention to the guns, but I'm just like, man. But that's all. Continue.
Isaac, are you sure you do not wish to use those gloves? They would have been very helpful when you were shot in the face.
Yes, Karash, I'm sure. For one, I have 2 guns normally, so I can't cash it even if I wanted to. And second, I stand by my, what I said earlier. I'm sorry, Karash. Is there something that is humorous to you that you would like to share?
No, not to Karash.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Tessian is like, you're right, though. And he starts digging around for the scroll and kind of wheels it out, and then he starts making notes on everything that has happened. So the barrier in the woods, its rough location in the pass, not like exact, but it wasn't that hard to find. And then trying to detail all the different rooms, kind of try to sketch a rough map of it. It's not like one for one, but like one of those nifty kind of 3-dimensional maps where like you're kind of here and then there. Sort of like you can look into it 3D. I would draw it, but I don't feel like it. So.
And Thea kind of chimes in periodically with like very gentle correctiveness of wasn't that path a little longer in that section? And she also offers to draw Aurelia if you don't want to.
Yeah, he'll let her. He knows her eye for that, especially dragons, is far better than his. So he'll definitely let her do that.
So she spends a good 10-15 minutes like with great detail working that up. And there's actually a moment where all of you are a bit startled to see that what appears to be Aurelia springs up on the side of the wagon, but it's static and kind of traveling at an even pace with the wagon. And she's looking up at it and like using that to really make the most detailed sketch possible. Keeps looking up at it for notes. She does not seem to have been aware of the fact that this might be surprising anybody else, so she's kind of just lost in her own world as she's sketching this. But she appears to have made some kind of tangible mental image of it that she's now using to sketch it in the magic scroll.
And I am fascinated by this. And I'm driving the cart, so I can't stare at it too much. But I am going to be glancing and trying
Rubberneck
to
drivers.
Just wheel off the path.
Yeah.
The deer. Some deer's like, oh, where were you? Use your signal. What the heck, pal?
Oh, Gary, no.
And then I'll try to ask Tessian about it because I know that she's drawing and I don't want to distract her. But I will try to ask how does she do that and so on and so forth.
Tessian's like, well, it's simple illusory magic. Grail's got similar tricks, I believe. Thea just finds it easier to draw from a reference. So when there isn't one present, she tends to just make one.
And I'm
Clever.
super impressed.